Hello everyone and welcome back to Make Better Wedding Films, the home of new ideas for radical films about people in love. My name is Ben, I will be your host, and before we get into the show, we've just got a couple of announcements to get through. The first thing is to let you guys know that this episode is sponsored by MusicBed. We've just signed on for another round of sponsorship with MusicBed, which we're really excited about. That's all down to you guys signing up using our promo code MBWF to let them know that we sent you. I'm always harping on about how the music on MusicBed is amazing, and it is. It's the best music on the internet that you can license for your wedding films. But what I don't often talk about is the kind of support behind MusicBed. So they've got a whole team that will help you look for music. So if you're on MusicBed hunting for music and you can't quite find the right thing, you can flick them a message and they will literally send you song recommendations directly to you. It's an amazing feature. And yeah, so make sure you guys check out MusicBed and use the promo code MBWF. It really helps out the show. And finally, I just want to remind you guys about our mentoring services that we've launched recently. Bottlebrush have actually filled up their 2021 spots for mentoring. I still have a few spots left for this year. So if you want to get a mentoring session in before the end of the year, make sure you head on over to the website. And if you got any questions at all, or just flick me a DM. More than happy to help out. Alrighty, that's going to do us for today's announcements. On to the episode. Life throws us all curveballs, and today's guests are no exception. But rather than seeking solitude in the status quo, Shannon and Jack decided it was time for them to try something bold and new. Through battling health issues and launching a brand new business at the start of a global pandemic, these two have come through with the most amazing spirit and attitude towards their life and their work, highlighting the importance of living in the moment. My name is Ben, and this is Make Better Wedding Films.
Our story's not very straightforward, but basically when we decided to start filming weddings, we were in a very tough time in both of our lives. So basically we were both working in TV at the time. I was an assistant director and Jack was a boom operator. And we were, doing all right for ourselves. We thought we were quite happy. But then my health declined and I injured my spine and I ended up in a wheelchair. So it all happened all at once. It didn't happen with any warning, and it just kind of flipped our lives upside down. And in the same few months as well, we had losses in the family. So for us, like, everything changed. I actually lost my job because of my health. And we were just sort of in this situation where suddenly life just seemed really short, really fragile. It gave us a whole different perspective on our lives and not feeling like we had a lot of time to really take risks and do something worthwhile. So obviously I wasn't able to walk about. I wasn't very sort of mobile at all. And Jack became my full-time carer for a good year. And in that time we decided, because not that it made any sense at the time, but we decided, how about we just pick up our cameras again? I mean, I used to do it when I was at uni, and Jack dabbled when he was younger, and he's like, let's just pick up our cameras again. Let's start a little company. Let's try and do some corporate stuff and see how it works out. And obviously it gave us a lot more independence. I was able to do it in and outside of my health. And Jack started to kind of wean off the TV work himself and started to realize he was really loving working for himself. And then it was shortly after Jack proposed to me, actually, and we got engaged, that Jack came up with this crazy idea to do weddings. And I, for one, was like, absolutely not. That sounds like an awful idea. Like, look at me, and I'm in a wheelchair. How can I stand for 14 hours? This is crazy. But yeah, Jack had the vision, really, didn't you?
I did. I was talking to Shannon about it before, and I don't know where sort of the instinct came from to actually get the idea of wedding films, but it just seemed to click. Like, I know a lot of people sort of get into the world of weddings, obviously, just from getting engaged, and you're just finding these films online. It's like, oh, hang on a minute, this looks really cool. This is something that I wouldn't mind actually doing. And then, yeah, for whatever reason, it sort of came like, right, I've got to try this at least once. And I know Shannon was in a bit of a position, but I thought, you know, we got to try it and see. But Shannon complied, and we did our best that summer.
Yeah, we went for it, and if I'm really honest, I sort of just drugged myself up on a load of pain medication and went to our first wedding, and we just couldn't believe how much we loved it. Like, we just completely fell in love with it all, and I got it. To be honest, it was once the wedding started and the business became real that I really took my health a lot more seriously and started to implement different ways of recovering. So obviously now I'm not in a wheelchair anymore, and I sort of put my walking stick away about 12 months ago now.
Yeah.
So I'm doing a lot better, and it really is because of the business. I don't think I would have pushed myself as much as I had done if Jack hadn't pushed me to give this a go.
Wow, that is amazing. Like, I think because there's so many people who look at people who aren't doing like this or any kind of creative field full time, and who look at it as a really scary option, you know, stepping away from a salary and into, especially in the last 2 years with our industry being so heavily affected by COVID, and the fact that you guys were like, nah, fuck it. Like, with so many more obstacles in the way, like with your health and everything, like, it's just a really incredible example of just, I guess, you guys trusting yourselves, backing yourselves, and being okay with being uncomfortable, I think. Which is just really, really amazing. Yeah. But how has it been for you guys going from, I guess, your two separate careers and both loving those and feeling like you were in good places sort of like separately in your careers, to now joining forces, running a business together, and the combined stress of that, especially with like COVID and your health and everything? Like, how has that process of starting that business been for you two?
Well, do you want to do this one?
No, go on. You seem like you've started off.
So, I mean, funnily enough, we actually met when we were working together. We met nearly 7 years ago now, working at the local cinema. Like, we were just serving popcorn, and that's how we met. And I think for us, working together at that point, and then we actually, funnily enough, worked together a fair few times in TV as well. Like, our jobs kept crossing, and we'd often work on the same sets together, like ITV. So I guess we sort of dabbled with the idea of working together anyway. And so when we pulled the business together, obviously there were those worries of, oh God, are we going to really get on each other's nerves here? But strangely, we just didn't. And it worked. And I think that what you were saying earlier about, you know, it was crazy for us just to sort of give this a go, and it was such a big risk, and that we had to back ourselves. We really backed each other. And I do feel like during COVID especially, there were a lot of times where both of us thought, like, this is silly. We've only just started. Like, no one really knows who we are. So this is like the worst time to be starting a business. But we always picked each other up. And so really, if it hadn't been for the fact that we were working together, I don't really think this business would still be around.
No.
Do you think?
No, I completely agree. If I was doing this, if I decided to do this on my own, when I had the idea of doing it, I would have given up a long time ago. But I think what you said earlier, I think we've just got each other's back every single time, like, especially through COVID, when we had only weddings to sort of think about and really kick off. When we decided, like, maybe not today, it's like, no, come on, we've got to keep going. Like, this is going to work. This is going to work. When I felt like that, Shannon picked me up, and hopefully I should pick Shannon up when she felt like that. And that's what it's been throughout COVID. Like, we were just thinking just to keep going. It became a must at the end of the day. You know, we nearly gave up everything apart from where we lived. I left TV when Shannon couldn't work. And I think it just... Sorry, it just go on.
Yeah,
lost my train of thought.
That's okay. I think for us, because we just took such a massive risk, it almost felt like there was no going back, and we really felt like we hit rock bottom. and I can be really open with you and say, my mental health was all over the place when my health went, and when I lost my father. And I think, for us, there was just no turning back, because turning back was going back to where we were and feeling like we didn't have anything. So getting up every day during COVID and having this business to work on really got us through.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was something to wake up to every day. And I think, like a lot of other wedding filmmakers out there, we just threw ourselves into style shoots last year and networking and just trying to keep ourselves creative. And we just, I think I just have so much love for the business because of that. It just kept us going rather than weigh us down during COVID.
Actually, I would love to transition now into talking about, I guess, what you guys have done to get the business to where it is now. Because obviously with starting it right at the beginning of COVID, you probably had a different approach to growing your business than a lot of us have. I think a lot of us slowly like over the years grow our business in terms of just like booking a friend's wedding here and there, and maybe they refer us on, and we're sort of like got our regular job at the same time, and we eventually build up more and more weddings. So how is it for you guys, especially throughout COVID, having the clean break of, okay, we're going to stop TV, we're going to start this business, and what was your sort of conscious plan to sort of, I guess, supercharge that growth for the business over the last few years?
Yeah, good question. So we definitely did not have a plan when we started this out. We were really taking this one day at a time. I mean, for us, every day was a question as to whether or not we could even make it work with me physically. So I think we just really did take this one day at a time. I would say that, we didn't have the opportunity to shoot a ton of weddings and shoot friends' weddings. And especially because of COVID, we lost all of our, the few bookings that we did have from when we started in 2019, we lost them all. So last year was a case of going, okay, no one knows who we are. And we haven't done a lot of weddings to really back ourselves up here. So we really tried everything. We just started asking people, what do we do? How do we get known? We went to local fairs. That didn't do us any favors. We started going to some local style shoots, and it was like, oh, okay, this is quite fun. We're starting to meet people. And then when we were completely locked down and we couldn't do any editorials, it really was through networking. So I think lots of other people did this as well, but we threw ourselves into online courses. Not for weddings, actually, not for wedding filmmaking, but for business strategy. So we started with business foundations and started to just work our way up and actually understand how all of this works, how online marketing works. Like, we were completely new to it all. We didn't know how to brand. I mean, when we first started out, we were called Walsh Films, which is my last name. And it was like, this makes no sense. So we had to completely rebrand. So I think for us, the biggest tool has been networking and Instagram. Would you agree? Mm-hmm. Networking and Instagram. I mean, networking for us has been massive, just getting ourselves into Facebook groups, like just reaching out on Instagram to other filmmakers and planners, getting people on Zoom calls, and then starting to arrange our own style shoots, not even with the idea of content behind them, but with the idea of wanting to work with people in the industry and just get to know people. And that for us has been a massive strategy, because then our name just started getting spread about in the UK. And suddenly we were popping up with planners and photographers, people we hadn't heard of, but they'd all heard of us somewhere along the lines, because we just traveled across the UK doing shoots, and obviously showing up online as well.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, really, really, like, because that's the kind of, I guess, approach that people like come to realize, I think, a lot later in their career, like especially the networking, like it's all about the people. It's all about who you know, like the classic phrase, it's not what you know, it's who you know, right? Mm. But it's so true. Like your networks and your connections with, like, especially with vendors and other people in the industry, like that's probably the most solid foundation that you can make for yourself as a business. because they're going to do the marketing for you, right? They're going to recommend you to couples, and they're going to, like that's all that like that's 100% going to be the absolute best for foundation before anyone like starts putting money into like ads or anything like that. Putting the time into networking is 100% the way to go. I'd love to talk now about, I'd love to talk now about, I guess, a little more specifically around what each of you do in the business, because you're obviously bringing probably your own different strengths. So how does like the framework of the business work for you guys? Are both of you shooting? Are both of you editing? Is one person more heavy in the admin? How are you guys structuring each of your roles?
Yeah, there's no clear cut about what we do behind the scenes, but on the day, me and Shannon shoot, and me and Shannon edit, which I think we've realised is quite not maybe a strange setup, but different to a few other people. We've been sort of trying to figure out what sort of best edits we do. Shannon's very good at sort of the longer edits, and I can sort of do the quicker edits. But Shannon's definitely the communicator in the business, if you can't tell. And then I'm sort of more technically minded. So, but the best, a lot of people have actually said on the wedding day, it's like, oh, I'm more of a DOP and Shannon's the director. So I can have a camera in hand, and then Shannon will be communicating with the couple or whoever on the day. And that's sort of how we've worked best. And it's become very sort of a natural process.
Yeah, definitely. And I think like people do comment as well and sort of joke, don't they? Because sometimes I will put my camera down and then I'll just stand with Jack and I'll be working with the couple and I'll be working with the photographer. And I think it's just because that's our background. Like our background is in drama. So that's kind of what I've seen, especially being an assistant director. Like it just, I guess that's what comes naturally to me. But yeah, like camera stuff, technical stuff, like completely goes over my head. So I'm just glad I've got Jack, because that's all of Jack's thing. Like he loves it, and he's always asking if he can buy more kit, more sound kit, especially sound kit.
Yeah. No, that's good. Like sound kit is good. I think that's really interesting though, because I think a lot of us are more technically minded and we feel comfortable, and we feel like, I think the funny thing about it is like, I think a lot of us feel like if we haven't got the camera in our hand, we aren't working, like on the day, like on the wedding day. If we haven't got the camera in our hand, we're not working. But I think Shannon, you've, I guess, tapping into more of your directorial skills are like, it's one of those different kinds of skills that I think a lot of wedding filmmakers could do with working on. And I think it just would lead to I don't know, a whole avenue of different kinds of shots, different kinds of filmmaking that you have access to. And I think like, I think of the likes of Fire and Ice in the UK as well. Like you see all the behind the scenes footage that those guys do. Like Christian's often got his camera down. He hasn't got a camera in his hand, but he's directing the bridal party, he's directing the couple. And there's other people with the camera. So like the fact that you guys are sort of like tapping into the more of that sort of teamwork of like, one person's the director, one person's got the camera, they're bringing the energy, the person behind the camera. Because as soon as you put a camera up to your face, you're sort of blocking a bit of the energy between you and your couple. And you can kind of work around that. But if one of you is like fully committed to that kind of like, driving the ship basically of the energy of the couple and stuff, like, it would bring a whole different dynamic, which I think is really cool that you guys are doing that. Yeah. I would love, I guess, now to, I think, talk about sort of just like weddings in particular, what you guys have learned over the last few years with running the business. Because like as soon as you like set up the business and started filming weddings and stuff, you probably would have got a feel of like if weddings in particular are right for you, or maybe you wanted to go into commercial video or documentaries and stuff. So I guess my question is like, do you feel like weddings is the right place for you? And if so, kind of why?
Yeah, I can answer this one a little bit. We've talked about this a lot between me and Shannon, especially through COVID, as we had to be 100% sure this is what we do. And It really, really is. Like I thought my sound work in TV was perfect, but there was just something about it that I felt off and anxious about. Where this, we both feel 100% comfortable with it. Like, I can talk about how passionate I am about this, about being in weddings and making wedding films all day, and it's taken me by surprise. It's just hit us both perfectly in a creative way, working together. Our time and freedom that we have, it's just fitting our lives just in an ideal spot that we never thought we could even achieve. You think being in TV that you've hit the jackpot of like, oh, I'm on the big set to meeting big people and I'm all important and it all feels cool and stuff. But no, this is completely different. This has opened our world entirely, especially for me. Like I've been such a town boy pretty much all my life. So meeting Shannon has opened my world, and then she's opened me to filmmaking and then helped me with this business venture. It's it's blew my mind, and we both agree nearly every day and be super grateful that we're actually in this business for the people we meet, because it's just we meet normal humans, which sounds a little silly, but it's just the connection we get and the importance we have on a role of on their wedding day is just, it's beautiful.
Yeah,
it really is.
And I think for me as well, I completely agree with all of that. And for me, like working on TV sets, you see actors pretending to be in love all day and you get connected, and I love it, and I love cinema, and that's why that's what inspires me and everything. But then there's just nothing like standing at a ceremony and watching two people so genuinely in love burst into tears and get really upset and have fun. And for me, like, I'm a very emotional person. Like, I get very attached. I'm awful with cinema. I just sit in the cinema and bawl my eyes out. But I'm always stood behind the camera crying at the speeches and crying at the ceremony, because it's like getting to film a big production with real people. We just absolutely love it. Like, I don't see it even like a documentary filmmaking. It feels like, yeah, it's just so much more than that. And we're just so grateful for our couples as well, because they give us the opportunity to be creative on the day as well, which we just find so special. So we get to still have, this sort of documentary feel that obviously we're filming real life, but we don't really feel like that. We get to feel like we're creating a cinema film.
Yeah, amazing. We talked a little bit about it I guess before with each of your various skills and stuff, but do you feel like there's anything in particular from your TV careers that you've taken into wedding filmmaking that's sort of like unique to you guys?
Yeah, definitely. I think my background in sound has hugely helped. Just knowing sort of how to go into it on the wedding day, having to have someone up or looking into like DJ soundboards or backs of microphone receivers and stuff like that, and having that benefit of knowing it already has definitely added a new dimension to what we can offer on a wedding day. Like we've got like 4 lavs, 2 plant mics, a stereo recorder, and then pencil mics, which we're using now in the room. So it's like I can mic up musicians, I can mic up random people, I can put plant mics in ceremony places that normal people don't really have. So I think just having that knowledge has hugely helped, because we can then add that into our films. And just like one we delivered today, they had a Jewish band throughout the ceremony, but I was able to capture all that for them. It just added so much to the ceremony film we delivered and the actual short film we made, and add that realistically and clear, and like you've got it off music bed. It's really helpful. I'm so glad I've got that background.
Yeah. And the confidence behind it as well. I obviously don't have that background, and it's so nerve-wracking going up to guests for speeches and miking them up and knowing that I've got Jack there to like sort it out, especially when you have awkward things, when celebrants are wearing awkward things and dresses, and it's really helped. I mean, the only downside to it is that before we had solid camera like equipment, we just had all this sound equipment, and I was like, where's my money for my lenses? Thank you very much. No, more microphones came in the post. But no, yeah, it's been brilliant to have that side of things sort of sorted. It's not something that we have to worry about.
Yeah. Is there anything that you've seen, like, from, I guess, the majority of wedding filmmakers' approach to sound that you feel like needs to be addressed?
Oh, don't start.
Yeah.
Don't start him off.
Don't say the words. Yeah, don't say the words TX 650 to me. I'll throw them in the bin.
So what's the alternative then?
I've always wondered if someone would ask me this question, and I can never give it 100%, but I think take it a little bit more seriously, because it can add another level to your films. It really, like, there should be two stories in your films, the image and the sound. If you can turn the image off and listen to it and still understand the story, you've done a good job.
Yeah.
So I think just add a bit more detail, you know, make sure you've mic'd someone up properly, and just even another like extra stereo recorder, like stick it outside, put some Atmos or a little something in there instead of just looking for what's on screen. Think about what's off screen as well.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's a great reminder. I think, like, probably nearly 3 years ago now, like I think the second or third episode of this podcast, someone said effectively the exact same thing. Like, your films, you should be able to like have an amazing film, like audio wise, before you think about the visuals. If you can build an interesting story with music and dialogue and sound design and everything first as your base, and that's interesting, then anything on top is just going to add to it. So yeah, 100% agree with you. It's nice that someone,
yeah,
100%. That's exactly what I've done on our latest film. You know, I've spent days just trying to piece it together and make sure it sort of blends well, and then I put the images on top.
Yeah. Which always makes me really nervous, because I'm always like, right, how are you doing? It's like, yeah, I'm nearly done with the sound. What do you mean you're nearly done with the sound? Are you crazy? But he'll have the whole film done. Yeah. He'll have the whole film done in sound, and then you can just slap the images on, and it all makes sense then. He knows what he's looking for. So
yeah. Well, that's how I approach my editing too. I probably spend about 2/3 of the time, 2/3 to 3/4 of the time on the audio base, and then just put the visuals on top. And that's good, sort of how I've found the weighting of my editing as well. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, nice.
Good.
Cool. Awesome. Do you guys have, I guess, a particular kind of a set of influences that you draw from for your films, and especially like in terms of where you've landed on the brand of the film, like the voice of like your brand and your films? Is there a particular kind of set of references that you keep going back to for inspiration?
This is a really hard question, because we've been trying to figure it out ourselves. We don't really have like a set of things that we feel inspired by, but I would say first and foremost, sounds cheesy, but like our biggest inspiration is the couple. Like for us, it always starts with the couple. And when we meet them for the first time, like we always say, we refuse to let you book us unless you've actually got on a call with us, because we need to feel like we can deliver to them just as much as they want us. And I think it starts there, doesn't it? And we start building up this idea of what their film's going to be like, what music we want, the sound design. Is it going to be a little funny? Is it going to be really serious? And we sort of build from there. And for us, that's been a really big risk, because usually when you listen to podcasts and you sort of like listen to certain people's advice, they'll often talk about being consistent and having consistency in your films. And it's one of the things we found really challenging, is figuring out what our voice is and how we can make our films look similar and sort of fit a brand. And in the end, we just gave up, didn't we? Because every time we made a film, the couple was different. And to us, they were our ideal clients, but they showed all of these attributes in completely different ways on the wedding day. And so suddenly we were bringing out all of these different wedding films. And it made the job so much more enjoyable for us. Like, we just loved the variety that we were putting out there. Obviously, we were scared that it wasn't going to do us any favors because people might worry that they don't know what they're getting. But what we found is that, especially since the summer, we now get inquiries on the basis that we're different. And they'll say, oh, I just love how we can go on your website and every single film's different and you can really tell the personalities of your couples. And I love how this music's different to this one. And so the couples now are jumping on calls with us and going, how do you do it? How do you know what music we're going to want? And you can see that they're excited about it rather than being nervous. So we're very intuitive with the way that we do our work now, and piece it bit by bit as we start to understand and learn about the couple. And obviously the day can often completely change what we think of a couple anyway. What about you? What your influences?
It's a bit stereotypical, but we're big moviegoers. Shannon's always loved abstract film, being in university. So is it Ingmar Bergman?
Ingmar Bergman, the Swedish director. If you ever get the chance to watch a film called Persona, it is stunning. Like, the way that he frames the two women in that film is just beautiful. So watch that and you'll probably notice that a bit more in our films as well. And also there's a really strange avant-garde film called Meshes of the Afternoon by what's she called? Oh no. You're going to have to get back to me on that one. I don't know what her name is, but it's called Meshes of the Afternoon. And if you pop it into YouTube, you can watch the full film and it's really weird. But again, I just love experimental film. I just love how they use sound and textures and overlap stuff. And that's mine. Yeah. I forgot about that one.
Cool. No, awesome. I'll go and look those up. That sounds really interesting. No, that's cool. I guess what you were saying before, Shannon, because I think we've had a few guests kind of back to back kind of reinforce that message of, like it being the couple first. And I think we've sort of literally, I think the last 3 episodes in a row, that's been sort of a message that's been hit home. And it just seems to happen again and again that the filmmakers who focus on the couple and put like them and making the film for them first are the ones who are, I don't know, just finding that something different. So I think I don't want to I guess rehash and repeat for our listeners yet again this message, but I think it's just, I guess, like one more example just to hit it home of make sure you're focusing on the couple and their story rather than just making something pretty and interesting for yourself. Just a good reminder yet again. It just keeps coming up. It just naturally again and again and again. So obviously there's something in it. So
the couple will trust you. Like we've decided not to edit during the wedding season for that reason. You know, a wedding every weekend. There's no way we can sort of fit in a film in 2 weeks or that week before every wedding. So we've said we can do the trailers, sort of the 1 minute and the 2 minute in those weeks. But to make a film and really understand their story, you've got to have time. You've got to have the freedom to sort of just think and make the film as you feel fit. So that's what we're doing next. We're not going to edit during the season. We're going to have everything start from October, so then we can really tune in to what the couple would really want.
Yeah, and we've been nervous. We've been nervous about it as well, haven't we? Because this summer, especially, I'm sure everyone feels the same. Like the backlog's insane, and I think for us, like, we felt like we were making films that we weren't proud of. And it was like, people aren't booking us for this. They're not booking us for mediocre work. They're booking us for unique work. And when we got in touch with the couples, it was like, we're sorry, but we would rather give you something we're proud of, and it's going to be a little later. And it was amazing how just fine the couples were. They were like, well, no, but that's why we booked you. That's fine. We'll wait. So moving forward, we're going to give ourselves a much bigger editing window for that purpose.
Interesting. Nice approach. Yeah. Really interesting approach. Because I think, most of us feel the pressure to just absolutely get slammed in summer, both filming and editing, effectively working 7 days a week almost. And yeah, it makes total sense to split it up and just go, summer we're going to film, and then winter we're just going to focus on editing. It's a really smart, interesting approach. Yeah, interesting. Basically, I've kind of got one final question for you guys, just to kind of wrap up, and I think now think about like moving forward in the future for you guys, because we've kind of talked about your history and your backstory, and we've talked about like the now for you guys, what you're doing now. So I'd love to, I guess, wrap up our conversation looking forward, and where do you guys see your business going in the future? What's ahead for you two?
So for us, I mean, in terms of like the weddings that we're shooting, we're really pushing for some destination work, which I know all wedding filmmakers want. So we're hoping to get some more destination work, which is lovely. But in terms of actually like our business strategy moving forward, Jack, as you have already heard, is like really passionate about sound and sound for weddings. So we're considering sort of creating our own podcast, really, for more that side of things, maybe just for things that maybe we know that we can just be helping people with, because we have noticed it a lot in the UK when we've been going around and obviously shooting weddings and meeting videographers, that they are always baffled by the kit. So that's something that Jack's really passionate about, that we'd like to do moving forward. What else have we got? Did we want to say?
Not much. Like, I think because we're still so new and we're still really evolving, and so it's still there's still little bits of fine tuning. We're not thinking too far ahead. I think, especially with, I know COVID is slowly coming to an end, which is nice, but we're looking towards next summer, just making sure we've got a full wedding season, and we can just look at that. Like, we're taking 2023 bookings, but very, very little. Like, we're saying no quite a lot. So we just want to make sure we can make next summer, and then we'll go from there. We're sort of, if anything, 6-month periods. So we'll think about winter and making this podcast and just getting the editing process done. You know, we've still got about 10 or 12 films to make yet. And then look at the new year and how we can be prepared for April onwards.
Yeah. I think for us as well, like when we've talked about our past, what happened to us has really made us people that don't like to think too far in the future. You know, we had lots of plans for the future before my health declined. And I think for us now, we still take it a day at a time, because anything really can happen. And so we try to lap up as much as we can every single day, and we take massive risks. We've just been on a workshop in Spain and just took the risk and was like, let's just do it. Let's just meet people. And I think, that's why it's hard for us to answer the question, because we don't have 3-5 year plans, because we don't live by those rules anymore. Just live in the moment.
Yeah. Amazing. Like, you guys have got a lot of courage, and I think a really fresh approach to life and your business and everything. It's really, really cool to see. It's really like refreshing to hear. Just that confidence, which is, it's really cool. I'm really excited to hear more about your podcast plans in the future. I'll be keeping my ear to the ground on that one. But I just want to finish off by saying
we're no threat.
Thank you guys. No. I'm interested to learn, because I myself have a lot to learn in the audio department, so I will be tuning in. But yeah, I just would love to finish off by saying thank you guys so much for your time and for sharing your story and your advice and your insights and everything. It's really cool to see you guys are doing an incredible job, and I'm really looking forward to seeing, what's ahead for you too. So thank you guys so much for your time and coming on the show.
Oh no, thank you. Like, we were over the moon when the message came through to ask us to come on. So we've been so nervous but so excited to be here. So thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, we've absolutely loved it. Thanks so much. And for those of you that are listening, thanks. This is great. And thanks so much.
Cool. All righty. Well, that's going to do us for this week, guys. We'll see you all next time.